यशोभिकमनीयशिखानिवेशम् दण्डत्रयोज्ज्वलकरम् विमलोपवीतम् उद्यद्दिनेशनिभमुल्लसदूर्ध्वपुण्ड्रम् रूपम् तवास्तु यतिराजदृशोर्ममाग्रे अचेद्रामानुजेत्येषा चतुरा चतुरक्षरी कामवस्थाम् प्रपद्यन्ते जन्तवो हन्तमादृशः पुण्याम्भोजविकासाय पापध्वान्तक्षयाय च श्रीमानाविरभूद्भूमो रामानुजदिवाकरः. First of all, I would like to offer my humble pranams to the feet of Swami Shri Hariprasad Swamiji, who is presiding over the entire event and is blessing us all with his benign presence. I would also like to offer my salutations to all the revered scholars who are participating in person as well as online, especially the chairperson Shri Professor R. Thirunarayanan Swami, a great scholar and teacher. And I would also like to thank the authorities of Shri Vishnu Mohan Foundation for giving me an opportunity to share a few thoughts on the designated topic. Already we are running late by about 1 hour, so I would like to make my presentation in a concise manner and directly focus on what I want to say. The topic that has been given to me is meaning of the term Visishtadvaita, and also how Ramanujacharya reconciled the passages dealing with the Bheda Shrutis and the Abheda Shrutis. I will talk about the second aspect in the beginning and then conclude my talk with the explanation of the meaning of the term Visishtadvaita. So we all know that from time immemorial there has been a debate with regard to whether the Jivatma, which is generally mentioned as the individual soul, and the Paramatma, which is mentioned as supreme soul, whether they are distinct and different from each other or not. The main reason behind this discussion is that most of us are ignorant about both the nature of the Jivatma as well as the Paramatma. For example, if I have two distinct entities like this here, so this is a stapler and there is a mobile phone. Do we have any discussion whether these two are one? Are these two one and the same? No. Because we can clearly see that these two are distinct entities. We can feel them separately, we can see them separately, and they are used for different purposes, etc. But the aspect of Jivatma and Paramatma are not like this. Because we do not have any inclination about what these two entities really mean. All we know about the Jivatma is that when we say I, there is an I consciousness as it is referred to. And this I consciousness is experienced by each and every human being and animals also to some extent. So what is this I? So when I say what is the hand, I say this is the hand. When I say what is the eye, I say this is the eye. That is E-Y-E-I, not I. When I say what is the nose, this is the nose, this is the ear. Or any other object can be pointed out and said this is it. But what is it that is being referred to by the word I? This is the most intriguing question that has remained a mystery even though we have evolved to a large extent. One very important thing that is to be noted here is that this I is not the body. Though we say I am fat, I am lean, etc., which is mentioned to as Sthuloham, Krishoham, etc. We know that this I doesn't refer to the body alone, because we also say my body, my knowledge, etc. My body means, it means that there is something other than this body which possesses the body. So there is a detailed discussion in the Shastras. I will not go into that discussion. When you say Jiva-Atma, what is it? Or when you say Atma, for example, what is it? Is it the body? No, it is not the body. Why is it not the body? If the Jiva-Atma were to be the body itself and not something beyond the body, then what will happen? When a person passes away, his body remains intact. But we will not call him. What is he saying? Why is he sleeping? We will not tell like that. We will say, when are you going to bring it? When are you going to remove it? So we refer to the body as a non-living entity once the Atma that was in that body leaves the body. So that is why there is a beautiful saying which says, Sharirasya na chaitanyam mriteshu vyabhicharata. If the body itself were to be the Atma, then this statement will be incorrect, because mriteshu vyabhicharata. When a person passes away, the body is intact, but the Atma has left it. And we refer to the body as it only, not he or she or whatever it is. So then the question is, are the Indriyas, that is the sense organs, are they called the Atma? No. The Atma is beyond the sense organs. Then we have what is called as Manas, which is generally translated as the mind. Is this the Jiva-Atma? No. So then we conclude, when we go on inquiring in this manner, as per the Shastras, or as per the guidance given to us by the Shastras, we conclude that there is an Atman, an Atma Tattva, or a reality called Atma that is within the body. So is this real or is this something? Is it distinct from the Paramatma or is it the same? This is the question that arises in our minds, because we are not aware of the existence of the Paramatma. We can infer the existence, but we don't have any direct cognition of a supreme entity that exists in this world. We can say there is a creator who just like a pot comes into existence only on account of its creator, namely the potter. Similarly, this world also comes into existence only due to the efforts of a creator, and that creator is God. Or we call him as Brahman in the Vedantic parlance. So we can infer the existence of God, but we cannot have direct cognition of it, because he is not both the Jiva-Atma and Paramatma do not have mass like this. They do not have a form like this. So they are beyond the grasp of the eye and other sense organs. Therefore, the question arises as to whether the Jiva-Atma and Paramatma are one. Are they distinct, or are they identical with each other? In this context, what do we do? Whenever we don't know something, we refer to the Vedas, because that is why they are called as Vedas. It is mentioned as Pratyakshena Anumityava Yastupayo Navidyate Etad Vidanti Vedena Tasmad Vedasya Vedata. Why do we call that body of text as the Vedas? We call it as the Vedas because the body of the Vedas, or the body of the text of the Vedas, inform us about the aspects that cannot be known to us directly by cognition, that is known as pratyaksha, or by anumiti, it is known as inference. You can neither, several aspects are there in this world that can neither be seen directly nor be inferred. In such cases, we refer to what is mentioned in the Vedas because they are mentioned, they are supposed to be mentioned by the Supreme Lord himself through where the text was revealed by the Supreme Lord himself to the sages. And they have been given to us for several generations for the last several thousand years. So in the Vedas, it is the Upanishads that specifically deal with the topic of Jivatma and Paramatma. In the Upanishads, there are several passages that say Jivatma and Paramatma are one and the same. There are other passages in different contexts which say the Jivatma and Paramatma are totally distinct from each other. So now we are facing a very difficult problem, difficult in the sense how to know what is the reality, because these are two mutually contradictory statements that are available within a single body of knowledge, namely the Upanishads. So which are the statements that propound the identicalness of the Jivatma and Paramatma? Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma, Tattvamasi, Prajnanam Brahma. These are the statements that say Jivatma and Paramatma are one. Thus, Aham Brahma Asmi. Aham refers to the Jivatma. Brahma refers to Paramatma. And Asmi is the word that says both are one and the same. Similarly, Tate Tvam Asi. Thou art that is the literal meaning, which means you, namely the Jivatma, is not different or distinct from the Paramatma. So these are the statements that mention that the Jivatma and Paramatma are identical to each other. They are not different, they are not distinct from each other. On the other hand, there are several other Upanishadic statements which say Jñā Jñau Dvau Ajavisha Nishau. There are two Atmas. One is Sarvajna, one is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, etc. And the other is ignorant. One is the controller of everything and other is controlled by the Paramatma. Similarly, in the Kathopanishad, Pundakopanishad and several other Upanishads, we come across statements which say the Jivatma is totally different from Paramatma. So, some Vedantics, for example, Shankaracharya mentioned, let us accept that the Jivatma and Paramatma and one are one, based on the statements that propound the identicalness of these two. And let us not give importance to the statements that say that they are distinct from each other. Then how do you interpret these statements that are distinct from each other? If such a question arises, he said, let us say that, let us agree that they give an implied meaning. For example, as a Purohitoyam Raja Samudra. He is the de facto king. We may refer to a person and say he is the de facto king. So we refer to some other person who is really not the king, but say he is the king very good. That means he is like the king. On the other hand, Madhvacharya said, let us give prominence to those statements which are propounding the distinction between Jivatma and Paramatma. And say that the statements that propound the identicalness of the Jivatma and Paramatma are giving an implied meaning. So he said Dvaita, that is distinction, Dvayoho Bhavaha Dvita, Dvita eva Dvaitam. So Madhvacharya said, let us accept the preeminence of the statements that speak about the distinction between Jivatma and Paramatma. Whereas Shankaracharya said, let us accept the preeminence of the statements that mention that both are one and the same. So here is where Ramanujacharya's real contribution is, in the sense that he said, let us accept the preeminence of both these statements, because it may not be very wise to ignore one statement and accept the importance of other statements. So, while we respect all the acharyas, because all the acharyas have contributed a great deal to our culture and philosophy, each acharya has his own uniqueness. And in this case, the uniqueness of Ramanujacharya stands out, because he said, if there were to be two contradictory statements within the Vedas or the Upanishads, there has to be a mechanism which actually also resolves these apparent contradictions. And then when he delved deep into these aspects, he found out that there is what is called as the Ghataka Shruti. That means the Shrutis are the Vedic passages that actually resolve the differences between the Bheda Shrutis, that is the passages that talk about the distinction of the Jivatma and Paramatma, and also the identicalness of the Jivatma. So the passages that talk about identicalness of the Jivatma. Then he found out that these Ghataka Shrutis can actually reconcile the difference between Jivatma and the difference, that is the two Shrutis, and propound a universal philosophy which is known as Visishtadvaita or Savisheshadvaita. So which are the Ghataka Shrutis? Those Shrutis that propound very specifically that there is a relationship called Sharira Shariri Bhava between the Jivatma and Paramatma, which is very, very specifically mentioned. So there is a beautiful chapter in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is known as the Antaryami Brahma, wherein very specifically 22 times the Upanishad proclaims that everything, including the Jivatma, is the body of the Supreme Soul, that is the Paramatma. So wherever there is a body-soul relationship, or the Sharira Shariri Bhava, there are both types of experiences. That is, we feel we ourselves, that is the Jivatma itself, or the Atma itself is the body. And also the Atma possesses the body. So for example, when I say Sthuloham, Krishoham, etc., that is, I am fat, I am lean, etc., the body is said to be identical with the soul. So you have an experience of oneness between the body and the soul. But when I say my body is like this, or Ramanujacharya gives the example, Devoham, Manushyoham, inherently the Atma does not have any specific caste, creed, sex, nationality, etc. But when a person says Devoham, it means I possess the body of a Deva or a demigod. Or when I say Manushyoham, I possess the body of a human being. That means the body is different, the soul. Thus, we can see that the body and soul are considered to be one in certain cases, whereas the body and soul are supposed to be distinct in certain cases. So the same rule or same analogy applies to the scenario where we have the question of whether the Jivatma and Paramatma are different or are same. So in this case, Ramanujacharya says there is upadana upadeya bhava between these two. Upadana upadeya bhava is a very important concept as far as the causative principles are concerned, and I will not go into that. So thus Ramanujacharya very beautifully resolves the issue of whether the Jivatma and Paramatma are distinct from each other or not. This is his most unique and most important, one of his most important and most unique contributions to the field of Vedanta in general. This has to be noted. The second aspect is, what is Visishtadvaita? So we accept that the Supreme Brahman is the only Tattva, only one Tattva that prevails in this world. But that Supreme Brahman is qualified. It is not Nirvisheshadvaita, it is Savisheshadvaita. This is what Ramanujaracharya said. So one way of explaining Visishtadvaita is Chidachid Vishishtam Brahma Ekam Ekam. This Advaita Tattva or singular, unique Tattva, namely Paramatma, consists of the Jivatma and Prakriti, that is individual soul and matter, as its constituents. So though the Tattva is one, Ramanujaracharya said, based on the Upanishads, he said, these two qualify the Supreme Brahman. So ultimately, if you take these two also into account, we end up with three Tattvas. That is why there is a great work called Tattva Traya by a great Acharya called Pilladokacharya, where he says, these two also, if these two also are taken into account as separate entities which qualify the Brahman, then you have three Tattvas, which is Bhokta, Bhogyam, Preritaranchamatva, Sarvam Proktam, Trividham Brahma Metati. A very beautiful Shruti or Vedic passage that sums up the entire gamut of the Upanishads. That's why it says, Sarvam Proktam, Trividham Brahma. Because you cannot say Brahman is the only Tattva in this world, because you also have the individual souls and you also have matter, namely Prakriti. So they too qualify the Brahman, but of course, during the state of Pralaya, they merge into the Brahman and you have only one Tattva. But when creation happens, they manifest themselves from the Brahman. Brahmaiva Sukshma Chirachit Vishishtam Brahma Jagadatmana Sthula Chirachit Vishishtam Brahmatmana Parinamat. Then you have three Tattvas. So when we say only one Tattva and when we say three Tattvas, it is not contradictory to each other, because within that one Tattva you have the subtle two Tattvas, that is Jivatma and Prakriti, which are subtly hidden in the Brahman itself. And when creation happens, they manifest from that. So ultimately you have Bhokta, Bhogyam, Prerita. Bhokta is the Jivatma, Bhogyam is Prakriti, and Prerita is Paramatma. So the entire gamut of Upanishads say that this world consists of three Tattvas, namely the Ishvara or the Paramatma, Supreme Soul. You call it as Parabrahman or any other name that is associated with it. Then the individual souls, and then the Prakriti, that is non-living entities. So this is what is summed up as Bhokta, Bhogyam, Preritaranchamatva, Sarvam Proktam, Trividham Brahma Metati. And the Shvetashvatara Upanishad is said to be the Upanishad that reconciles the apparently contradictory statements with regard to all topics among the Upanishads. And this is the final statement given in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, that is the Tattva Trayavada, which actually emanates from the Ekatattavada, which is what Visishtadvaita is all about. And though every Acharya propounds the same aspect in different methods, it was Ramanujaracharya who uniquely propounded this theory in this manner, which is appealing both to the heart and the head. So that is why I will conclude with a statement which says, in this world many philosophers have come and gone, but the advent of a mystic philosopher is the rarest of the rare occasions indeed. And Ramanujacharya is the only mystic philosopher, because why a mystic philosopher is rarest of the rare occasions? Mysticism is associated with the heart, and philosophy is associated with the head or the mind. So to balance what the head says and what the heart says is the biggest challenge. And the uniqueness of Ramanujacharya is that he could balance the aspirations of the head and the heart and arrive at a universal philosophy that is appealing both to the head and the heart. And this aspect has been very greatly appreciated even by modern philosophers like Swami Vivekananda etc., who have praised Ramanujacharya for bringing out a universal philosophy that is appealing both to the scholars as well as the masses. So this is the unique contribution of Ramanujacharya as far as this aspect is concerned. With these words, I conclude my talk. I hope I have been able to say a few words that have thrown some light on the unique contribution of Ramanujacharya to philosophy in general and to the Indian knowledge systems also. And I am extremely grateful to the organizers of this event, Sri T.K. Parthasarathi and all the other office bearers of the Vishnu Mohan Foundation. And I also offer my humble pranams to Swamiji, Sri Hari Prasad Swamiji for organizing this event, for visualizing and overall organizing this event. And also he has lot of affection and also grace and anugraham for me. Unfortunately, I could not attend this event in person. I really regret the same. But as we all know, we are all under the constraints of time and space. But even then, I am really, really grateful, and I offer my humble pranams to Swami Sri Hari Prasad Swamiji for his grace that he has been showering on me. And with these words, I conclude my talk. Srimate Ramanujaya.